Good morning, people of Earth. How are you?
People of Earth.
Yeah, that's Yoko Ono. That's what she says. How are you, people of Earth? Hi. Secret. We're all actually just Freemasons fucking around. That's what we do. We're the Illuminati.
That's life.
Illuminati. All right. Good morning, Ass. You're looking a lot happier and a little in a few leagues greater spirit than you were last time we spoke to you. How are you doing?
Yeah, healing well. Down to one crutch, except for stairs, and just coping better.
I'm very happy
I
to hear
asked
it.
my doctor for a renewal on my script for pain meds. He said, and I thought that he would say, "Look, let's try and get you onto something less hectic." But no, he was like, "It was a serious op. We'll give you another 2 boxes."
Oh, that's why you're happy. You're on the good shit.
Yeah. So yeah, recovering nicely and nothing to complain about today.
Well, Leanne, the only way up from rock bottom is up. Last week you were at the bottom. You were that submarine.
That's right. Mm-hmm. No, that's true.
Yeah.
So look, I'm very happy to hear that. So I'm not going to complain about anything either, except that I've developed some kind of real fucking pain in the shoulder. I don't know where it comes from. I obviously slept badly or something last week.
Is it more towards your back, like under your shoulder blade?
It's like the whole way from my neck to here, above the shoulder blade. Definitely muscular.
Yeah, you pulled a muscle.
Exactly. So I just want to get this out of the way quickly. It's purely like from an advice point of view, because somebody said to me, you must go to the chiropractor. Someone else said, no, you must go to the physio. Someone else said, no, you must go to the doctor and get like medicine. That's all. What do I do?
You can get a muscle relaxant, something like Norflex. That works very well for that.
Try one of those patches, man. Ingram.
Yeah, I tried one of those as well. I don't know that it's worked, honestly, because I had those already at home, because for some reason, I don't know what it is. Like, I've never found a very good position for sleeping. Like, I don't really sleep well on my side. I don't really sleep well on my stomach or my back. It's like all the positions are, maybe I'm just one of those people who just, only needs 3 hours of sleep. And my body's like, okay, if you have more than that, we're going to give you neck pain. Take some neck pain.
You know what I did? When I had that sleep trouble in my young age? I went on Take-A-Lot and I bought a pregnancy pillow. One of these big SLs. And then you put it between your legs, you put it under your neck, and then you sleep like a baby. I think it cost me like $200 a pop back then. Like that was still at varsity and whatnot. So like I used to sleep for like 2 hours, used to wake up feeling like shit. And then I bought a pregnancy pillow and then that sleep was...
Yeah, really? That's a good suggestion.
But don't go to chiropractors. They're not doctors. It's a pseudoscience. They like homeopathy.
Yeah, and Tracy says when your back problems start, you're screwed. Well, it's not a back problem. I promise you, it's a neck thing, and it's muscular. And the only time I really get these things is either because I've slept badly or because I've like overdone and overwrought the muscles and been carrying heavy things or like doing too much at the gym or whatever, which happens to everybody. So
yeah.
But you were at that party with your dad. Maybe you guys were like throwing down or like raising the roof or something.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys were raising the roof.
It was so funny. So it was really cool. But I mean, it was actually a very nice day on Saturday. So it wasn't nearly as cold as we thought it would be because Friday was
Yes,
horrible.
you're right.
And I was like, why the hell are we doing this? July is shit. Let's just, next time we should know better. And, all those kinds of things. And you give yourself a hard time over it. But it ended up being really good. It was a lot of his friends. It was so funny. I started off the speeches by saying, because we did the speeches between the main course and the pudding. So all these old people were like lined up because it was a buffet, right? And so I said at the beginning of the speeches, I'm like, you guys looked great there. You looked terrific. All these old people in like scarves and hats and jackets. And I said it looked like a homeless people line at the soup kitchen.
Way to make them feel good about themselves.
Because all those jackets and they all like bending over. Like,
yeah, they were like hunched over, helping themselves to food, and
Oh, shame.
Anyway, all right. Mel says that you're right about the pregnancy pillow, and she knows. All right, guys. I watched Oppenheimer on Saturday. What a movie! Highly recommended, says Grace.
We recommended it before it came out. Grace.
Yeah, it's true. There we go. But good for him. He knows he's got the man of
3 hours,
taste.
Grace. 3 hours, Grace. That's a lot of hours.
Right. I got a temper pillow, all neck and shoulder pain guard.
That's what I've got. One of those ones that's almost shaped like an S from the side. I can't go anywhere without mine. That solved everything for me. Yeah.
See, just the same way as we talk about, with Ben or George or any of these people who are doing all these, these ice baths and things. Those are there to improve your life and make your time more efficient and your body and your mind better. I think this is just as important. Something like a good sleeping pillow.
Yeah, absolutely.
No. You once said this, Gareth. I don't know what year and what not, because my memory is just like, I remember everything, everything and anything, but I can't place it. But you once said, why, if you're going to buy a bed, why not invest in the best bed possible? Because you spend most of your time sleeping. Yeah. So just like the pillow, just buy the best pillow that you're comfortable with. Why are you happy with the shit bed that's going to give you problems all your life?
Well, I mean, you'd rather spend money on a bed than a car. You spend more time in the bed than you do in the car, right?
Exactly.
And I don't know any beds that cost what a car costs. So even the most expensive ones, right?
Well, I'm not an expert on beds or cars. Let's call George Meany up on that.
We got to find someone who's an expert.
Don't put it out there, because some bed place will make a bed that basically drives itself.
But they once turned into a Bugatti into a bed. So maybe that type of bed.
Yeah. It's already, the stupid is already happening, whether we like it or not. Anyway, so how was your weekend? I was busy doing family birthdays and things. How was yours?
All good. R&R, rest and recovery. Another trip to have my hair washed with all the other old ladies.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Got a lift from my brother's friend, Oh,
yeah.
And then, when, like you say, I battle to ask for help. When somebody tries to help me out of a car or whatever, I just feel it's the opposite of, remember those shots that the paparazzi would get when a star arrived at an event, hoping for like a sneak peek of what was not to be seen.
Yeah.
And you just look at yourself hoisting your own legs with your arms, your legs wide apart, not giving a care.
Yeah.
Joining the queue of ladies paying to have their hair washed. So just R&R and a bit of family time. But good humor all round. Yeah.
But like you said, your brother's friend helped you. So you think like they opened up a WhatsApp group, like the Leanne helpline.
They slipped me in on their Sunday duties of helping other older people. So I'm on my way to help this one. So while I'm doing that, I'll drop you off there. Then I'll take that one with the fruit and pies. And once I've dropped off fruit and pies for that old one, I'll fetch you from the hairdresser.
How hilarious.
Do it for Mandela, guys. Do it. What? Just 69 minutes.
Well, yeah, exactly. I saw some stuff last week. There are still people doing,
67
Mandela Day stuff. Yeah, which I'm very impressed with, obviously. But
I think it's probably more important than ever, because people just generally really need help. At the moment, people need help. Everyone's feeling down and downtrodden, and things feel hard. Someone suggested a spring street group party in my street, just to lift everyone's spirits again. It's kind of, the load shedding's been quite hectic, and it feels a bit COVID-y. that we're kind of stuck, without certain things in our lives, battling to pay for things.
Yeah,
not
but
great.
people like shout out to people who always do something for Mandela Day, even though we didn't have them on this year. The people that make blankets, the 67 blankets. We once had that lady last year.
it's Carolyn.
Yeah, exactly.
She still does
So
every
blankets for the poor, guys, because the one thing that we always forget, as much as we cry in our houses that we don't have heaters, and like there are people without houses, there are people without heaters, there are people with wet blankets. Snow was beautiful, but imagine if you're sleeping on the street and you woke up with like a fluff of snow on top of you, and then you had to do it again. So it's all well and good to complain about like the load shedding and whatnot, but I'm not saying that's not real problems, but there were people who had it worse off. So shout out to the people that are still doing the hard work.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, absolutely. A friend of mine just got back from the Congo about a month ago. He was here for a couple of weeks, and now he's been redeployed to northern Mozambique. He's doing stuff for the UN World Food Program. He told me that in the Congo, there's so much humidity that your bed is always wet. You can never dry it out. Gross.
You told us this. This is when we ended up roasting Durban.
And I was so horrified because I thought, here we are, the three of us talking about, oh, well, what kind of pillow do you need to buy for 1,000 rand to fix your neck?
Yeah.
Well, have you ever thought about investing in a waterbed?
Well, it's not him. They just kind of supply this stuff. You can't exactly take your bed along, It's, and again, you think about, it's actually kind of pathetic that I'm lying here in bed at night and I go, oh, no, I can't find a comfortable sleeping position. Most humans were like, sleep with one eye open because someone's going to eat you or someone's going to attack you. You're going to try and rape your wife, steal your kids, steal your tent, your food. It's not like any of this is really relevant to humans who've had a much harder time. They must think we're the stupidest things that have ever existed. If they could come back now, they'd be like, what a bunch of soft people, Anyway.
Yeah. Oh wait, like speaking about irrelevant, like just read this comment from what Migs.
Leanne, would you rather have Gareth's surname or Bakh'abantu's surname?
Again, my name's spelled wrong there. Which one would you choose? Would you rather be Gareth Moore or Leanne Kak?
No, Leanne Cliff, you mean?
No, you said name. Oh, surname. Oh, sorry.
Surname, you idiot. Surname,
Leanne Cliff. No, I go with Leanne Cliff all the time.
Would you?
I don't know. I'm tired of being named after objects. Like I said, I've been Boyle, Mole.
She'd rather be
not Cliff now, I'm
sure.
just tired. And besides, I think other people should be taking women's surnames for a change.
Well, there are people who do that.
Morning, guys. I'm back listening to the live show. I would save the show for Jim, but I want to get involved in the chats too soon so that I'll have to make a plan for Jim later. Okay, well, you can do both. Look, that's why we give you 2 hours. You can always do the 1 hour with us live. And then the second hour, you can listen to that whenever you get to it. Go a bit later.
Yeah.
Do you ever get pissed off? Because this happens to me sometimes. I've got a couple of favorite podcasts. And I won't listen to the show after we've done it because it's like you're repeating stuff, But if I don't have my podcasts, then I get really annoyed. Like, for example, this one podcast I listen to from the UK. Sometimes they're not as consistent. So you'll get it every like 4 weeks, then sometimes every 6 weeks, sometimes every 3 weeks. It's totally random. And I find I'm like annoyed. It's one of those history ones. I get annoyed if I can't hear it. And I'm like, oh, damn it, I'm having a shit week. Again, it's like, my pillow is not good.
It's our first world problems. I also get annoyed. I listen to this podcast every Monday consistently. They're these bunch of Australian dudes. They're funny. It's pop culture. It's nerd culture. But they always take a break. And they also, like, during their holidays, I get they have to have holidays. They always have like best of. I'm like, I listen to every episode, so I don't need to listen to you guys repeat all your best of and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly.
So I also get annoyed about that.
No. Yeah. And I kind of understand why our audience get upset when we take a break. you know.
But it's like it's the same with television series as when they have a break in the series, a break from filming, and now there's another big. Remember that big Writers Guild strike that went on in Hollywood?
Yeah, we never talked about that.
Well, it's
Now
It's
there's
like
that-
after. It's like
Isn't
after.
it
That was a
spoiler.
few, yeah, that was a few years ago, and now there's a new one,
Yeah.
freshly starting. So you only feel the effects about 6 months later, but there's like a 3 to 6 month break in the middle of the most riveting series. if
No,
you're
like
not able to
with
watch
the
it.
writers' strike, it started out with the writers. The writers were complaining about stuff that like they were being undercut, right? So it was very interesting to read because they were being undercut. We were not talking about writers who are writing stuff like Oppenheimer. We're talking about writers like putting in the Daily Show, let's say on
Shows.
Bold like on Bold or Days, like people who go day to day to write scripts. So these people were being undercut. And then when the implementation of AI came in and streaming came in, all of a sudden they weren't. So like job performances was rated on ratings on the stuff you wrote. But now Netflix doesn't release their ratings, or they release their ratings if they want to. So now the people, so they can pay them whatever they want. They can, your show made bad money, so we're going to pay you shit. So then the writers started striking. And then you introduce AI into this, where AI is also writing scripts. ChatGPT could generate a script, and then you just get an editor to finely tune it and remove all the machinery out of it. Exactly. So now the writers were like, we're worried about our jobs. You guys are already undercutting us. You guys are already underpaying us. So we're striking. And then after a while, SAG-AFTRA, which represents the actors, just joined in. These are big names that just joined in. So the only movies that got made, this is why Oppenheimer was not, was not promoted. It was promoted like a month before because the actors started striking a month ago. But Oppenheimer was promoted two months ago, even though like the Barbie movie is coming out. But there's no new, there's no new PR for this stuff. It's old PR and stuff. So even if you watch, let's say like a Cillian Murphy interview about Oppenheimer, he's not doing the rounds, the press checks and whatnot. He's just there for the photo op and then he checks out because he's also on strike. He's also supporting SAG-AFTRA. He's also supporting the writers. So when the actors joined, it just pushed up a bunch of stuff just by 6 months already because now they're not writing. Deadpool 3 was supposed to come out in November. It's not coming out November. That's the the top of my mind. That's the one show I can remember that's already postponed.
So there are two reasons they're also complaining that you didn't mention. The one is because AI is taking over their jabs, and they're worried. They're worried that a lot of the writing for some of these movies is going to be done by machines, especially the kind of general plot and composition. And they can. I mean, you can go onto any of these AI, the free resources that you can get now on the internet. You'd say put together a story with this, and this. And in any case, Hollywood's kind of been doing that for the last couple of years anyway. I mean, all the Marvel movies have the same kind of plot. It's the same characters. There's very little that's different. And I heard from somebody who went to see the Barbie movie, apparently it is absolute toilet.
Yes, I also heard that. I
thought it would be. I can't see how it would have been good.
But it was either, like Sis Pumi said this, it would either be a huge hit or a huge letdown. And you know what Mattel did?
They've done tremendous marketing. They've done such good marketing around it that, people who don't know that the movie's shit are still going to go and see it because they'll get to dress up and they'll
they'll get into that box. Yeah, it's a trade.
Exactly.
So in terms of imagine with the Barbie movie, Mattel, right, who owns the rights to Barbie, the toy company, they invested all their money into turning all their property or their IP into movies. So at some point we're gonna get a Rubik's Cube movie. We're gonna get a it's so stupid. They turned all their IP. They were betting on Barbie to be a hit, and they're turning all their IP into that, into movies now.
But apparently I have no interest in going to see the Barbie movie, and I won't waste my time. But apparently you can tell that the people who wrote this don't even like Barbie. They've kind of, I don't know why Mattel would allow people who obviously are trying to inject a whole lot of political messaging. The nice thing about Barbie is that I don't think she ever really was political. I don't think the toy has ever really been political. It's, young girls want to play with a doll. They want to dress her up. They want to pretend house or whatever. That's where Barbie comes from. She's not like some feminist icon, and she's also not icon of the patriarchy. I mean, Leanne, do you remember anything like that as a kid?
Of course, Barbie was huge for me, but we forget that Barbie ran the script. Barbie was always the lead character. So in your head as you were playing as kids, and Ken would take very much a secondary role, which was fun for the feminists. But it did get slightly political if you want to incorporate something like racism and body size into that genre.
Yeah.
When they did start introducing Barbies of color, they called them.
Yeah.
And you get Kens and Kens who are now sold together. So they do dabble a bit in that, but it's
Kens and
not a
Kens.
lot.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's not surprising to me. But they added to the Barbie family, right? So they added the Barbie who's pregnant. They added the Barbie in a wheelchair. All the different Barbies. That's cool. I don't think anyone has a problem with that. But Barbie herself has never been overtly political, right?
No, it's this thing of going back, Gareth, and then rewriting history and then wanting it to be political or misogynistic. At the time when stuff was made, it was just made for pure entertainment. It was made for kids to enjoy. But now we're going back and react to what we're using our woke mentality to say, oh no, like Barbie was blonde, blue eyes, which means she must have been a Nazi.
Yeah.
No, I definitely get that impression. You can tell like people want to make it ugly. They want to make it
anti-intelligence.
Right?
Yeah, they want to make it like an ugly thing. And then the fact that Leanne owned a Barbie and Leanne still says, I still like Barbie. All of a sudden, Leanne is also a Nazi now. It's anti-intelligence, man. It's like we're thinking backwards. We're reverting to our basic instincts where, oh, I see red, so I must be angry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, stupid. And this is what they do with all these movies. And then they inject some bullshit about so again, this friend of mine didn't give me a complete breakdown, but he did say that he was just, because he went with his daughter who's, I don't know, she must be like 10, 12, something like that. And he said it was just terrible because what they did is they first of all made fun of like Barbie. They mocked the actual intellectual property that they created. They made her seem really, really stupid. And like Ken is the bad guy, but he isn't, which is also sort of weird. So they're doing that whole thing of like making men the fault. Men, it's always men's problem, men's fault that women aren't getting where they want to get, doing what they want to do. And then they made the Mattel. They actually brought the Mattel like company into it, and they made the Mattel company look like they were evil. So I don't understand this at all. Like, why would someone do that?
I need to see the movie in order to form any sort of
a critique. Okay, Leanne, that's your assignment.
Yeah.
Watch this movie and come back to us.
You can go see it for us. And I mean, look, maybe because he's also a dude and he had to take his daughter to this thing. He probably didn't enjoy it, just as a guy. But I don't want to blanket statement that either, because I'm sure there's some guys somewhere who would have enjoyed the Barbie movie.
Like Leanne reporting live from the Barbie movie. That's what we want.
That's right.
All my life, that's what I wanted to do.
Our field correspondent. But you want a great Barbie movie? Because they did make a great Barbie movie. It was a Tyra Banks movie in 2000 called Life Size, where she was a doll and she came to life. And she was black, and it was before black was cool and before anything mattered and whatnot. Go watch that. Before black was cool.
All right. Okay, very good. Is the world still ending, Bakh'abantu?
Well. Am I a prophet, Gareth?
Go on. I mean, listen, things are not exactly improving in leaps and bounds, but how do you think we're doing? Is your end is nigh strategy still coming along?
So I do not. Okay, well, I identify as a prophet. I think this is what I should call myself right now, Prophet Bakh'abantu. Well, we did. The earth did open up in Joburg.
Yes,
the rapture did happen.
Jeez, everybody was talking about that this weekend. Hey, that was all anyone was talking about.
The rapture did happen. Joburg was swallowed up, just like how Sodom and Gomorrah fell, if you're a Bible reader. So so then we go. Then there was an earthquake during the weekend in somewhere Soweto. or like West Rand, where
South.
Ryan's from.
Yeah,
Southwest.
And
Yeah.
and there was an oil explosion in Kempton.
Yeah,
but
I saw that.
it was a bit of a mystery, that one. The last time I checked on it, emergency services were there and all the crews were there and journalists
and then
were
there
there.
was a bit of denial somewhere happening.
They
there.
couldn't find where this thing had
Yeah.
occurred. Just strange, mysterious things going on.
No, but
it
the
all
world
seems
is
very odd. It's very,
the
very
world.
strange.
Yeah, it's very strange. That's why I moved out of that shithole. I moved out of Braamfontein. Now I stay Sandton, Sandhurst, whatever you want to call it. I moved out.
Okay. So isn't there a part of you? I mean, I understand you're just claiming that Armageddon is marching steadily ahead, but I think there's probably a simpler and more Occam's razor type explanation here. I think there's sabotage going on. I don't think this stuff is by mistake. I think that we've had too many really, really specifically weird things happen that seem to me almost like someone's running, trying to make us scared.
No.
Someone's running this operation.
Okay, so are you going to say like it's intentional sabotage? So you're arguing like espionage type stuff here?
Yeah.
No, I don't think they're that smart.
Corruption falls into that as well.
I don't think they're that smart, Gareth. I think we are reaping the rewards of electing stupid people in power.
And things are just deteriorating because they're
exactly. We have finally reached the end of the curve. We've been building and building up, just like the gas underwater. Just like the gas underground. They still haven't told us where the gas comes from. Sis Pumi had a great example with the Zamazamas, and it probably is. And then if you remember, during Herman Mashaba's era, he tried to gentrify. Yeah, gentrify. Yeah, gentrify the CBD. He tried to fix it. He tried to get rid of these people. And they called him xenophobic. And he was the way he was doing it. But there was a certain narrative that he was trying to change about the CBD. And because those buildings are derelict now. What we're talking about the roads and the taxis and the whatnot. And the entire workforce has just stopped now because that road is a main hub of roads. There's so many taxis there that aren't using that road anymore. Those buildings should be condemned. They should have been condemned 10 years ago. But now they don't have foundations. Those people should be moved out. They should be moved to what did Cyril do during that 2 weeks where he turned Nazareth into a temporary hospital? Those people should be moved there to Nazareth because those buildings will collapse. That is a guarantee because they still haven't told us where the gas comes from. And the reason why they still haven't told us where the gas comes from, because they know it comes from either malpractice from their side, ill maintenance because of corruption, or the Zamazamas, which they're in on the take.
I don't think it could be the Zamazamas. We spoke about this the other day, but that was an explosion up. Something blew up. It didn't blow down. Didn't cave in. It didn't implode. It exploded. And you can see by the way those taxis were flung up. There's no way that an illegal mine tunnel, even if it was 1 kilometer long, exactly the same depth and length across the whole of that street, that's too weird. But I mean, Carl quite rightly says, I think what Bakh'abantu is saying here, never ascribe to malice what can be more easily ascribed to ineptitude.
Exactly.
That's right.
No, that's true. That's true. I know that saying.
Listen, Nick says, this is talk about the end is nigh. Fun week ahead in Taiwan. Air raid and war drills today and tomorrow, followed by a typhoon smashing us on Wednesday, Thursday. So, again, don't complain too much about what you've got. Could always be worse.
That little part of your diary where you plan just the week ahead. Oh my gosh.
Got our typhoon scheduled. Let me go to my underground bunker.
All right, I think maybe we must try and cheer people up with a little bit of sport this morning, and we'll check on some sport headlines, and also maybe if you placed a bet, you could win some money. We'll see if we did. So
what was there to bet on this weekend? Come on, we'll have the Open Championships. Brian Harmon. You bet on the Open Championships? Shame on you. Brian Harmon built a big lead over the Open Championships after 2 rounds, and then he held the week, reigned the weekend. You can cut the music. Come on. He said it was loud.
No, we need the music. So, all right, let's just get into this properly because otherwise people don't know what we're doing. So, it's called Beyond the Scoreboard because we don't just give you the results, but this is very important for a Monday morning because there are results to be shared. And if you did place any bets, this is how we're going to get to the bottom of it, see whether you've won or whether you've lost. Okay, so of course, brought to you by Super Bets. Let's start off with that Open Championship. You mentioned Brian Harmon. And
Brian Harmon.
I saw like 5 seconds of it, and it looked like the worst weather in the world. Like rain.
It was raining, but like he already had that lead, and then he just maintained it through the rain, and then he won by 6 shots.
Jeez.
Very good.
Great. The Ashes still happening. Same rain was happening there, like the Open Championships. It was so boring because rain does ruin cricket. We all know this. But the fourth Ashes ended up in a draw. This means that the Aussies retain the Ashes for another year. So now,
Very
what do you
good.
call Hungary, the Hungarian Grand Prix, Alex Hamilton. What is it, Alex? I forgot his name. Right, Hamilton, though, he made a return, and then he had pole. We thought he lost it, and then he did beat Max Verstappen again. And then the Women's FIFA World Cup. Yeah. Come on, I'm Afrikaans, Gareth. It's Verstappen. But anyway, the Women's FIFA World Cup, we didn't qualify, unfortunately. Banyana, we all supported them. Yay. Yeah, but we didn't qualify. After 9 minutes, we scored first, and then Sweden in the 9 minutes, in the 90th minute, they won 2-0. I mean 2-1. Sorry. So yeah, we didn't qualify, and that was beyond the scoreboard. That was a sad ending to a weekend.
A little sports recap with Superbets, and remember, Superbets supports responsible gambling. Strictly no under 18s. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation. Toll-free hotline is 0800 006 008. That's their toll-free counseling hotline, 06008 after the free 0800. So now you know. But I did place a bet on the Open. I didn't win it.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do? I don't know anything about sport. Remember how we were both thinking about how I didn't know anything about sport, but I won the previous week? Well, this week I didn't know anything about sport, but I lost. So it is gambling. That's what it is.
Yeah, gambling. You either win or lose.
Producer Ryan says I lost my ass this weekend. What the hell is that?
No, he lost all his money.
He lost badly, yeah.
he also badly bet.
Okay. Well, there we go. So you see, you just can't tell. Everybody is playing the same game. Some people just get lucky and other people don't. All right, very good. Pablo says he won 20,000 Rand this week thanks to women's football. Lol.
Yeah, I don't see how that's possible.
Wait, did he bet against Banyana? Oh, well done.
I think he's talking nonsense. Anyway, a good reason to catch up on some sport over the weekend if you did. And we'll be doing this again on Friday. So make sure you don't miss it. Very good. That's Beyond the Scoreboard. Let's get on with the rest of the show. I know that Bakh'abantu's got quite a lot to talk about this morning. He's got an issue with the republic, the banana republic that we've become. We'll get to that later on. I don't want to go straight into the negative stuff first thing in the morning, but we're all feeling pretty much like he is. Here's something interesting. Leanne, they found 9.8 million rands worth of perfume inside a dead whale. But it's not perfume the way that we would think about it.
Yeah, it's a little bit different to the perfume the way we think about it, but it's still as valuable, and it has a place in making perfume. We know that whales...
So the whale didn't eat a duty-free store at the nearest airport. This is about something that the whale produces, right?
It's really fascinating. So this happened in the Canary Islands, La Palma. There was a sperm whale that died and washed ashore. And what happens with most of these incidents is that scientists will come in and, investigate what happened. And the head of the Animal Health and Food Security at the University of Las Palmas, he opened up this animal. The intestine was blocked by a massive piece of what they call floating gold or ambergris. It's called ambergris.
Ambergris, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this is something that occurs quite naturally, but very rarely, and it's known as the treasure of the sea, highly valued in the perfume industry. And the way it works is it makes the scent last for longer. And for ages, perfume makers have used this. It's quite gray and waxy, this little substance, as like a fixative. And there are like synthetic versions available, but this natural, rare ambergris still sells for thousands of dollars per kilogram. So this chunk is valued at about $550,000, which is about just under 10 million rand if you're converting. And the thing is, if this whale had turned up somewhere in Australia or the UK or America, even India, there is a ban on trading this product in an effort to protect whales, because their numbers are still under threat and still vulnerable today. But because it happened where it is in the European Union, the Institute is actually looking for a buyer, and they'll use the proceeds of the substance to go towards helping victims of the volcano that erupted in La Palma in 2021. So I think that's a pretty good use of floating gold. But yeah, that's what happens. So often these whales are able to pass the substance, but it occurs when they eat like squid and cuttlefish. They battle
obviously hugely valuable too.
Very. Yeah. They sometimes throw them up, or sometimes they just pass them, and you'll find small parts of it floating in the sea. But what happened with this little guy, little big guy, is that it got stuck in his intestine, and that's what killed him eventually, was dying of sepsis. So yeah, quite interesting. I didn't know a lot of that.
I'm just amazed that we're in 2023. Humans haven't discovered a better way to make this stuff, in a laboratory, for example. Why we have to still rely on like lumps of it inside of dead whales in order to make perfumes and stuff. Isn't it weird? I mean, really, Bakh'abantu, don't you think we could chemically create this stuff in some sort of laboratory setting?
But it's not as good.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to be like, it's probably not as good, and it's probably cheaper to just hunt the whale than to mix it up in a lab. Yeah, this is why the orcas are attacking. They're taking on their revenge on us.
I think so. I think that might be part of it. But I mean, that's a lot of money for one whale to be storing up inside of it. 9.8 million rand. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, right? That's pretty impressive.
And Clint says all of the top-end perfumes and fragrances use ambergris, whatever it is however you pronounce that.
I looked up the pronunciation. The British pronunciation is ambergris.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I knew you wouldn't get it wrong, but I've heard it pronounced both ways.
Ambergris, I'm sure.
Does Superbets listen to the parts when you do the sport recycling? Face purple crying, says Simon says. I don't know, but I mean, we do it because if we place bets on the Friday, we want to know what we've won or lost on the Monday, right? That's how it works. We have great scientists in Gauteng who are working on whale blubber, which is very valuable, says Barefoot Blanche. Okay, well, good. See, that would make sense to me. If something's worth that much money, we should be able to artificially generate the stuff. Anyway. All right, so let's get into this, because I know you want to do a bit of a rant this morning, and there's nothing wrong with a rant. It's a way that we let off some steam. Bakh'abantu is getting better and better at these rants. So what is pissing you off this morning?
The arts and culture department, or what do you call them? The sports and arts and culture department. I know it used to be run by Natim Tetwa, so I actually did my research on this one. It's ran by a guy called, I loaded up pictures and everything. It's run by a guy called, what's his name?
Zizi Kodwa?
Zizi Kodwa. Yeah, and this department seems to have an unlimited budget to do whatever they want. They put up 2 statues, and 3 is going up in Durban. You guys talked about this. And what I think you guys missed here. This is Natim Tetwa.
Right. This is the guy.
It used to be this guy. This guy is a guy who's changing the towns, who's doing all this weird stuff with money. He has an endless budget, apparently.
And he's the one who didn't help anyone during COVID. He was meant to kind of keep the South African arts and culture alive. And, help the theater.
And then he shut it down. He's supposed to use that budget. So my biggest question is to Zizi Kodwa or Natim Tetwa. Why are we investing in statues of Mandela? Mandela's literally on our money. We know what he looks like. You see that statue, Gareth? That's what pissed me off the most. That statue, I remember seeing it as a child at the Nelson Mandela Academic Hospital when my dad was there, 2004. He was doing his training, his in-service training to be a doctor and whatnot. That statue exists. So why are we building another one in Mthatha? Because that's a great statue, I think.
Well, they built two in Transkei. They built one in
Qunu and one
in
in Mthatha, right? So why are we building statues of Mandela? Do you think are we really going to forget Mandela? He's on our money, for Pete's sake. Exactly. We're not going to forget him. And then do you know how much it costs to design those statues? It costs 3 mil. Who the hell needs 3 mil to design a picture of Mandela? One of the world's most known people in the world. There's an effect called after him, the Mandela effect. Some people spoke about the Google effect. There's a Mandela effect. Everyone knows what Nelson Mandela looks like. So why are we paying some guy 3 million to design a statue of Mandela?
They are. It's just it's a way to spend and waste money. That's all. The Department of Arts and Culture, like you need
the
a
Department of Arts. Exactly. They have this endless budget. I think SARS should just go in there and just gut it and give it to the people. Also, this is not me trashing the arts. Instead of investing in the statues, why don't we take that 3 million and invest in arts and culture, invest in the artists? Make, like, what do you call it? Open up a school where these kids who have this talent for arts and these sculptures and these painters, we could have the next Van Gogh, for Pete's sake. And then that, like what? If you have a class of 30 and you average, let's say, good 2 statues, and then we put them up, and then their name will already be in the annals of history as they created this great statue for their project, which they got experience, and then they get their name out there.
You're not so naive that you think this is really about statues.
It's not really about statues. This is the same guy who wanted to put up a 24 million flagpole.
These are people who
remember that.
Find a way to steal money more efficiently. That's all.
And that's why I'm saying this department needs to be regulated. This department is running away with it. They just rename towns willy-nilly. I remember one of the weirdest things is that they wanted to rename a town, and the people were like, we're not okay with it. And they held a council meeting where the people, 90% of the people, black, white, colored, this was in the Eastern Cape, of course, the shithole. So now they called the people in, and then the meeting consensus was, we don't want you to change the town. We're okay with it. Black, white, people voted. 90% of the people were like, now we are fine with what the town is called. And then you know what they said? They said, it's not your decision. It's up to arts and culture. It's already approved. Who's changing these boards? There are people staying in shacks in this town. There are people who are starving in this town. But what we're investing in is what? Boards? And also, and funny enough, just like what you call it, Dr. Mkhize, these are the people who are getting these tenders to do all these things are the same guys who own the businesses, who are passing the laws. It is inside trading. It is.
Yep.
Yo.
All right, you got to calm down. I mean, it is Monday, so I wanted you to have a go, but you've now got to take a big deep breath, because just your luck, we've got Dr. Hanan, and we can get into some of this stuff, because
spend your coins wisely.
Exactly. What we want to talk to Dr. Hanan about, and he'll tell us to spend our coins. You see, Leanne, you've been paying attention. He'll tell us to spend our coins wisely. But hey, how are you, Doc? We missed you last week. You were on holiday.
Yes, I was away for a week in the Eastern Cape. Jeez, it was amazing.
Really?
In the Eastern Cape? What are the chances?
How topical.
Bakh'abantu was just saying how it's a shithole province, and it's the worst run province in the country. But you said you had a nice holiday there. So 2 things can be true at the same time.
100%. 100%.
All right. So first of all, while you were away, and I just want your take on this, because we don't have anyone's personal problem to sort out today. And I prefer sometimes when we talk a little more generally. So it's going to be okay with Dr. Hanan Bushkin, of course, is our chance to check in on kind of mental health, but also the way human beings behave, the way they think, all of this stuff. So it's really in 2 parts. The first part is, why are celebrities so desperate to showcase their wealth when they go to countries like South Africa? I mean, we heard about Floyd Mayweather, who came here, and he spent, I don't know, it could have been anywhere between 80,000 Rand for a pair of shoes to some people are saying 7 million Rand to some people saying $7 million. Nobody seems to know. But it was very important for this otherwise quite successful guy who seemingly has a great life and has done very well and has become a world-renowned figure. why is it important for him to be conspicuously consuming things? Where does that come from? Where does that smallness of self come from, that you need to buy things to make other people respect you? That's the first one. We'll get to the other one afterwards, but that has to do with people who share too much on the internet.
So psychologically, what happens, Gareth, is society puts a marker on what they deem valuable. So for some cultures, it's hunting. A great hunter is very valuable. So either it's a gatherer. For somebody else, it may perhaps in other countries, it's education, maybe a particular skill. And in our capitalist society, it's money. Money means resources. Money means power. Money means you're much higher on the hierarchy than other people because you got options. Money gives you options. And even to your point, you see Floyd spend all this money, whether it's $80,000 for a pair of shoes or $7 million for whatever. And immediately you go, well, he's a very successful guy. Well, how do you know that? I mean, we don't know that. We've got no clue what's behind the scenes and whether he's borrowing money or whether he's bankrupt. We've seen many times of celebrities spending money that they don't have, but showcasing their ability to spend the kind of money. And I saw the video of him being surrounded with, 15 police officers and 15 bodyguards, and being paraded by, hundreds of people right behind him, is a showcase of, look at me, I'm incredibly successful. So it's the virtue signaling, but this is the economic signaling. This is, look how successful I am, look up to me. And us as society, we like to role model and we like to look up to people who we deem or we see or seem to us to be successful, that have option, because we want to have a piece of them. We want to rally behind them. We want to support them. We want to build their team, because if they can achieve success, we're much more likely to survive and reproduce.
Doc,
and
I don't know what's going on with your internet.
Culture.
I'm not sure what's going on with your internet, but it's like really bad. Do you want to just go out and come back in? Because we're hearing like it's almost like a robot voice from you, and it's so awful.
Let me try.
So just go off and go off and come back in. I don't know what happened there. It's like your internet suddenly went down the cracked roads of Johannesburg.
Well, he did go to the Eastern Cape after all.
It's true, yeah. He went to the Eastern Cape, so maybe that was it.
Yeah, but listen, those parts of the Eastern Cape with that raw beauty still, I was just thinking about it now.
Sure.
It was one of my favorite holidays.
No, Leanne, with the Eastern Cape, what breaks my heart, even though it's my home province, what breaks my heart is the potential.
Yeah.
It has so much going for it, but we keep squandering it every chance we get.
So let's go back to Dr. Hanan. So you were saying this is like an economic signaling, which I think is an interesting way to put this. So it's someone wanting you to think that they have material success. And obviously
success, yeah, for sure.
And some places that is extremely valuable. That's what people want. They want that more than they want people to say, what a nice guy. They want to say, what a successful guy, what a rich guy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, think about it. I mean, capitalism is all about who can have more money. The person that wins, that has more money, wins the race. That's a person that has the option and the ability to purchase and open any doors and create any networks. So let's not kid ourselves. Money is important, and society values that above everything else for the right and the wrong reasons. There's no value judgment on that. But when we see people that possess the resource that society in this game called capitalism has signaled that is the sign of success, we want a piece of that.
Doc, just to jump in here, but wouldn't this also be tied with the social media presence? Like Gareth and Sispumi talk about BB Rexa, who also wants to post, and instead of posting wealth and whatnot, they want to be victims online. They want to be what is this thing about showing off your life, where you want people to have opinions on your life, whether good or bad, whether they see you as the victim or as the heroes or whatnot? What is this need from these people that are supposedly successful that they want, public approval? They want an attaboy?
Aren't these people who went into careers that are front-facing? They are public careers, right? These are singers, sports stars, actors. These are the kind of people who crave attention.
Yeah. So look, I saw that segment with that celebrity. I don't know her, but I saw the message, Gareth, that you read out by her boyfriend, and I thought the message was incredibly respectful. I didn't think there was anything wrong with the way he communicated or confronted her breakup with him. But you see, if people can't showcase a leadership in one area, they will try to showcase a leadership in another area. So what in this case, this so-called celebrity, what she did is she tried to lead a particular movement. I am going to lead you in the body shaming world, and get right behind me, ladies, and I'm going to protect and look after you. So people find any way to kind of lead a particular movement, whether they believe in it or not. They just want people to follow them and see them as leaders in that particular movement, whether it's a body shaming, whatever is really the political hot topic of the day. And in this case, it was body shaming.
Right. And I mean, what Bakh'abantu is also asking, which is, I think, a fair point, is you've said to us before, Doc, that not everything needs to be shared online. You've got to keep a little bit of you for yourself. You've got to keep a little bit of you for your partner, a little bit of you offline for your family, your friends. Otherwise, your whole life's lived online, and actually it becomes quite worthless.
Listen, I am a big fan of not sharing anything that has no value to you online. It's not good for the people that are reading it because it's all nonsense. Really, it's all nonsense. And it's not good for you because where are you spending your coins, to your point, Leanne? Is it really worth your while sending all these messages, posting all these things online when you could be spending your time and energy and effort and attention on other things that create value? I always ask, what is the goal? And if a particular endeavor or me posting online services a particular worthwhile goal, then I will do it. And if not, then what's the point? What is the value of you getting? People place so much value on a thumbs up or on a like, on a heart from Instagram. But how is that? I ask anybody that is chasing those hearts or anybody that's chasing those thumbs up. How is that valuable to you? How are you going to cash that in any capacity? Right. Never mind to the bank or never mind to your family. How are you going to cash that in with any form of value in the future at all? So is it really worth your while spending your time posting bikini shots or posting your life online or what you did, how successful you are, and getting all those likes? Yes, you got 5 likes, you get 100,000 likes, you got 1 million likes. But are those likes translated into real value in real life? And if the answer for you is yes, because you're a marketer, or maybe you are an individual that needs those likes in order to portray a particular image, in order to gain X amount of attention, fine. But for the rest of us, I don't see any value.
Well, Xavier Tambo says, society sees success as wealth, but success is not defined by wealth. That's another thing. We can get into that another time. Unfortunately, money is just one of the ways we have to evaluate things. Money is the tool we use to be able to say, this is worth that much, this is worth that much. And if you're prepared to pay someone for a service or a product, and they're prepared to sell it to you at that price, you have a deal. That's all it is.
Yeah, listen, we're in the game. We're in the game, and there are rules to the game.
And I think people need to be very careful how they spend. You talk about the coins, but how they spend their social media time too. Because if you're spending your time hoping for likes, or you're spending your time dishing out likes to people who can't cash them in, you're wasting time. That's all.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, Doc. Very good to catch up with you, and I'm glad that you had a nice holiday. And we'll speak to you again soon.
I look forward to it. Bye,
There's Dr. Hanan. All right. Well, I mean, Joking Atheist says there should be no holds barred in terms of sharing online if you're blonde, tall, and have 36D bra.
Sure.
Yeah. Advice. Leanne, you disagree?
No, it's just I'm pissed off because I'm all of those except tall. Damn.
All right. Well, we'll be back in a moment or two. Don't go anywhere. CliffCentral.com. It is a Monday morning. We're here to help you start your week properly. Listen properly.
You might know Cliff Central as South Africa's podcasting pioneer. Well, of course, we did help kickstart the industry back in 2014, and we've been shaping the space ever since. But did you know that we also do a whole lot more? We have a dedicated and growing fan base that's ready to hear all about your business. We simply leverage the power of our brand and help you reach your ideal audience. And the best part of it all is that it's all white label. So whatever you create with us is yours to repurpose and do with it as you see.
This week on the AutoTrader podcast.
What cars has been able to do is they've changed how people interact with the world and each other and accessibility to things. We always talk about why the first car essentially gives people freedom. It offers you an opportunity to get a job wherever you want. It gives you an opportunity to change your lifestyle. And I think that's kind of the big difference that I have against, people who think, rockets are cool, planes are cool, but I think in terms of everything, cars have definitely made the biggest impact, including trucking and logistics.
Yeah, it's created freedom. It's created independence. It's created the ability to make the world smaller. Besides the internet that's made the world smaller now, because with the internet you need to be able to deliver stuff. Yeah. And cars are critical to that chain, to that value chain. So the internet is in the reality of the internet and click to buy or e-commerce is made possible because of vehicles. Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
All right. It is Monday morning. It's still chilly as hell across the country. People are complaining about the cold and about exploding roads and about load shedding, but we're not going to get us down. We have things to do today. Wow. We have things to talk about today. So, talk about statues, Bakh'abantu.
Hello, statue. That was my grandfather's joke. Every time.
Did you see they removed a Greta Thunberg statue?
That's what I was about to tell you. I didn't even know there was, but apparently there was there was a Greta Thunberg statue at Winchester University in the UK. It was branded as a vanity project. It had been temporarily taken down. The statue is installed in 2021 at the University of Winchester in England. It was set to a more stable plinth.
Which was probably because it was made of grass and twigs or something.
Yeah, well.
There's a picture of it. I'm sure Gareth could find a picture of it. I think I loaded a picture.
The statue, along with other works of art on campus, is a popular destination for people to come and visit us. It will be a delight to continue welcoming anyone who wishes to view it once the work is completed. The university believed it was the world's first life-size sculpture of the inspirational Swedish environmental activist. But at the time of its installation, there was such criticism from students that the union questioned if the money could have been better spent, just like you questioned if the money could have been better spent. Bakh'abantu, I don't understand this whole thing. We also got this major problem in the world with, people telling other people where they should spend their money. If this is the university, sure, I could think of 100 things a university should do before it puts up a statue to anyone, let alone Greta Thunberg. But to waste the money on her is even more egregious. At the same time, I don't go to University of Winchester. I've never paid them a cent as far as I know. If they want to put up a Greta Thunberg statue, then that's fine. I think it's terrible to waste money on something like that. But if someone else wants to do it, good for them. Do you want to see what it looks like?
Yeah, is it made of human spit held together
No,
with bird farts? Or...
no, it's made of bronze, just like most.
Yeah.
Let me show you.
But
what
was the bronze like what economy, like environmentally friendly?
There we go. Look at her. She looks way happier as a statue than she does in real life.
How dare you, Gareth?
Huh?
How dare you?
How dare you?
Don't you think she looks like less angry as a statue?
She does a little, yeah.
She does. She looks a lot happier. That's an inaccurate statue. Sorry to the artist.
Yeah, I think she's better as a statue than in real life. I'd prefer to meet the statue. I'd actually feel a warmth and a sense of comradeship with the statue before I would with the actual Greta Thunberg. But have you seen all these protests? Now, I want to ask you guys what you think should be done. We spoke about this sort of lightly last week, but these environmentalists who all over Europe, it's especially a thing in Europe. They lie across the road, they sit in the middle of the road, they stop traffic,
they glue
spray
themselves
paint
to things.
They glue themselves to runways. They spray paint fancy cars and expensive cars. They ruin shop fronts of like important like tech stores across major CBDs. Artwork they throw paint on, soup, all that kind of thing. These are basically the most annoying people of the year 2023 by a long way, right? I mean, we can complain about lots of other people, Greta Thunberg included. But what is it with these people, first of all, that makes them think it's okay for them to behave like this? And second of all, what would you do if you were a truck driver? Because I've seen these videos that keep pitching up on my social media feed of people like picking these idiots up and moving them to the side of the road. And then they get up and they go and they lie in the road again. But they're not, I mean, they don't have any ability to actually defend themselves. So you can literally bulldoze them out of the way if you want to.
But the truck driver got fired for moving them from the road.
I know, but what would you do?
Leanne, want to take this one? Political approach, because
it's just to even further to Dr. Hanan's point this morning. It's just about people feeling important for themselves and in front of society. It's about them it's so that they can carry to their graves some kind of title like philanthropist or activist. It's just so weak. It's so
I agree with you. But it's not like you can avoid these people. They will, if you're in Germany or in Britain and you're on the road and you're dropping your kids off at school that morning, or you're taking a delivery to a factory or something like that, what do? Because these people who Bakh'abantu has already pointed out, who try and throw these guys off the road, they get up, they end up in more trouble. They get arrested themselves, or they get fired from their jobs. It's so weird.
Well, I mean,
and makes says you would drive around them, but the problem is you can't get around them, and they actually lie. They want you to hurt them. See, these are the kind of people who their end goal, with the best outcome for them, would be that their legs get broken under your wheels. No, because then they would have a serious story. Then they would feel like
they're heroes.
They want a reason, Gareth. They want a reason. They want to be special. But it goes back to how we raised this generation, and myself included. We feel entitled in this generation. We feel this entitlement that I should change the world. I should do this. I should do this. Greta Thunberg, speaking at the UN, should not have been a big thing. Should not have been addressing like those people like the way she did. But again, if you're doing it for the right cause, then sure. But these people are throwing this paint. I remember there was a big story. Remember when they used diesel powered helicopters to unfreeze the windmills, the electronic windmills in Texas?
Yes.
It's all that stuff. Do you know what's in paint, guys? Do you know how dangerous like throwing like paint around on these planes that are supposed diesel guzzlers? You know how many fumes, the paint fumes literally kill people, and you're throwing it around on these planes that are supposedly diesel guzzlers and destroying the earth.
But hang on, you're trying to approach this logically. These are not logical people. If they were logical, they wouldn't be filled with the fear of death that, the environment is going to get worse and worse and we won't be able to breathe the air and the fish are all going to die. I mean, I saw a video yesterday. I shared it on my Instagram of this woman. She's a grandma, okay? Her grandchildren are meant to be in her care. Her parents are obviously working, the kids' parents. And so they've sent the kid to grandma, but grandma's an environmental activist. So she leaves the kid or kids at home with her husband, who's also an old man, and she goes off to protest in London. And they interview her. They say to her, all right, so why are you here? And she goes, because she's been arrested now by the police for, causing trouble. And she's been like lying in the road or whatever. And she said, this is a grandma. And they said to her, why did you do this? And she goes, oh, well, my grandson asked me, he said, Grandma, the fish are dying in the pond. The fish are dying in the pond. It's too hot. So to her, the solution is to go into London and to protest, and then the temperature will drop and the fish won't die in the pond. It's more, she's more concerned to do this. She says, I'm doing it for my grandchildren. Meanwhile, the grandchildren are at home. Probably grandpa's gone to sleep, so they're not even under adult supervision.
He's like burning a hole with his pipe in the sofa.
Yeah, why isn't she at home feeding these little shits and explaining to them that actually we can't control the climate? There's nothing we can do. If the sun wants to make it hotter, the sun will make it hotter. If the wind blows, the wind blows. There's nothing we can do except go inside to where there's air conditioning, add a few blocks of ice to the pond if the fish are dying, and figure out that the world was not made for us. We were made for the world. It's this bizarre hubris. It's this sense of like self-importance, which I don't get.
Mm.
These people that weren't told that they're not special, Gareth.
Yeah.
These people that were told that, the world should revolve around them, that they should.
But again, this woman was not Gen X or Gen Z or millennial. She's an old lady. She's in her 60s, 70s, and she's busy worrying about climate change. I mean, first of all, she's not going to be around for very long, so I don't know what her problem is. She should just enjoy what she's got. Second of all, she's giving her grandchildren bad information. Instead of saying to the kid, well, did you feed the fish that are dying in the pond? How do you know it's because the pond water is too warm? What a strange jump to make in your head that's just another piece of evidence of climate change. And these guys are throwing this climate change. And look at this headline. This is in the New York Times. I actually saved this just so I could show you. The New York Times, which is supposedly a sensible newspaper, all right? Listen to what they printed here. I'm just going to read it to you because there's not much to see. There's the front page, so you can at least see what it is. And I've actually circled there. It says, hotter Europe poses a threat to older adults. Fine, that's a good headline. We know it's been very hot in Europe. By the way, they're measuring things differently now. They measure it on the ground. So they measure the heat of the ground, which is a different way than measuring how we've always measured temperature. How do we do that?
Atmospherically.
We measure air temperature, right? We don't measure the heat on a tarmac. Otherwise, it will be 50 degrees, but that's what they're apparently doing now in Spain. So it looks much higher than it should be anyway. But here's the headline that bothers me. It says, and I've circled it, extreme temperatures are the new COVID. Now, why would the mainstream media be putting out messages like that? Well, it's easy to see.
Fear-mongering.
This is it. So now you can see through the whole plan. And for anybody who's still going around saying, oh, well, if you say anything about climate change that isn't along the lines of the narrative that everybody's meant to just parrot, then you must be a climate denier. Just like they called me an anti-vaxxer when I asked a few questions about the vaccine.
How many times did you get vaxxed? 3 times?
Or that twice. I went for 2 shots. I went for the 2 Pfizers, and I'm very sorry I did. What a waste of time. What a stupid thing to do, to put foreign substances into my body that hadn't even been tested properly. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, everybody who said anti-vaxxer, you want other people's grandmothers to die during COVID without the lockdowns, all that kind of shit. These are the same people who are now trying this because that didn't work, right? So now they're going, let's use the environment. And why would they use the environment? Because it's unfalsifiable. You understand this, Bakh'abantu. You know what it means. Leanne does too. When you create something that's unfalsifiable, it means it doesn't really have an end point. So you can keep kicking this threat up in their faces until they eventually succumb.
But at the same time, they're not reporting on, and this happened last Monday when we were talking about the heat in Spain, that in the north of Spain, there were massive floods that were just removing cars from roads. And in Italy this week, there were such hailstorms that there were sheets of ice moving down the town streets.
I saw that.
They don't report on those. They just stick to the heat story and fearmonger.
So what do we believe? This is the problem, right? The biggest question I think that has come up in the media since, let's say, 2016 or thereabouts, with the arrival of fake news, which Donald Trump didn't create. He just named it. We've always known it was there. I get people like, for example, we had this dude on the show last week, Gatsby, who's a Nigerian American who wrote for my show. He wrote like some of the stuff for the show that we did on ENCA. But he is, convinced that Donald Trump's the worst person that ever lived. And when I asked him, why would you say that? He didn't really have any answers, because it's just one of those things that you've got to believe. Like, you have to believe humans are creating climate change and that it's going to kill us in the next 10 years. You have to believe this. People say, but why? And then they call you names. If it's to do with racism, people, you have to believe that racism is worse than it's ever been, which of course is nonsense. Of course it's nonsense that it's worse than it's ever been. There still is racism, but it's unfalsifiable. You see what I mean? All these things that they're creating that we argue about, that the three of us could sit here every Monday and talk about, are things where they especially don't want an answer. They don't want this to be resolved, because that's where they get to make you fearful.
Yeah. Otherwise, what are they going to put in their newspapers?
Yeah.
So what do we do about this? How do you know what to believe? You're a journalist, Leanne. What do you actually say? Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Well, unfortunately, as a journalist, you have to keep on reading. You can't just shut down and have the luxury that some people have of saying, well, I'm just not going to watch the news anymore. And I'm quite jealous of those people who can just shut down and leave it. But the only way to get to the truth is to keep reading and keep finding out more and seeing more angles, because it's through that you'll eventually see holes in people's theories and what the media have chosen to put forward.
And here's a good question too from Ad B. Says, fully agree with you, Gareth, but what do you think is their ultimate objective with this nonsense? It's to convince you not to believe your own eyes, your own ears, or as Leanne says, the stuff you read. They're trying to convince you that you're confused and that you should listen to them. I think that's what it is.
Like to have two quotes. One of them, says Pumi said, manufactured outrage. And then the other one is a Game of Thrones quote when Game of Thrones was still good. To create chaos, chaos is a ladder. So if everyone is confused, no one is working together, so they get to control the narrative. Mm-hmm. They get to herd the cattle this side. Oh no, then they get to herd the cattle this side. And then all we're doing is just following because we're all scared.
Right.
Manufactured outrage.
Let's look at this old lady. Take a look at this. You'll see what we mean.
You all right?
No, I'm not all right. Eating a poor, helpless chicken.
But like, you're over here wearing a leather jacket.
It's not real.
Okay, it might not be real fur, but you're still wearing a leather jacket, aren't you?
The leather jacket is very, very old.
Okay, it doesn't matter.
Of course it
matters. The chicken might have been old.
I'm a vegan. I've taken the choice.
Yeah, and he's a vegan as well on a Wednesday. If you don't want to see people eating chicken or whatever, blah, that's fine by you, yeah, but then go away from a KFC. You want some?
I said, do not even... It's disgusting. How could you?
How could you?
Oh, it's just not right.
You don't have to agree with it, but then just keep it to yourself. Like, look at them guys there. Are you going to go over to them and then stop them as well?
Yes, I am going to go over there.
Oh.
It's a real busybody, hey? Sure.
What?
Imagine going up to people at a KFC or telling them that they made a bad food choice. I'm always amazed, and vegans are particularly bad about this, which is why we tease them all the time. These people who think that they've chosen to live a certain way, right? Let's say you believe in zero emissions, so you walk everywhere. You never leave your house in a vehicle. You never use public transport. You are one of those people. Let's say because it's like a religion. You're a zealot. You're a climate zealot. And for you, that's the most important thing. So you believe in that strongly. And then you go around and you shit on everyone who doesn't believe the same thing as you. It's insane. Look at this lady. What are you doing hanging around a KFC telling people who are buying chicken?
Looking for trouble. It's the same people who will stand outside an abortion clinic looking for trouble.
Right.
It's just very, very annoying. And also, what does she care? She could be doing such
She's
better
got too
things.
much time on her hands.
Yeah, she needs to be. She needs to run a soup kitchen or something. Really,
it's this divine right that people seem to think that they have now to tell people how to live. People should be doing what they want with their money. They should be buying diesel cars. And also, like, in terms of climate change, guys, you guys do know the greenhouse effect is an actual scientific thing that has been happening on Earth. It's just now it's happening during humanity. And we can't stop it because it happened before. It's going to happen. It's going to change. Ice age is going to hit and it's going to start all over again. But unfortunately, we'll be the casualties of nature. Get over it.
But I don't think it will necessarily destroy humanity. What it will do is make life a little more complicated in some parts of the world. But that's always happened. Industrialization did that. Political revolution did that. World wars did that. Those are absolutely human caused, right? All of those things. Those are all human causes. But this one is about nature just doing what nature does. Apparently, we have more forests in the Northern Hemisphere now than we ever had for the last 3,000-4,000 years before this. Now, I don't know where they get those statistics because they only started measuring that stuff very recently. But if you could look at, I suppose, ice cores, or you could go into the rings around very, very old trees, you could see how much vegetation there was in general around the world. You could test soils, you could test rocks. There's stuff they can do to ascertain what was happening on planet Earth 1 million years ago, right?
Yeah,
you figure that stuff out.
It's never going to end. It's always been there. You talk about protesters. How long have people been throwing tomatoes at other people in protest in cobbled villages? It was rammed into our heads as a kid that the Amazon forest was depleting and that every sheet of paper counted. We don't hear about
the Great Barrier Reef,
the coral, the dripping tap where one drop can save millions of people. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
The children starving in Africa.
Yeah.
Going into a KFC. I mean, come on.
Add hope.
That at the point where the person is at the most level of I don't give a shit about the chicken. They're hungry. They wanted a KFC chicken and they've got there and they're about to put this juicy deliciousness into their mouth. It's the worst time to speak to them about killing chicken. They're really not
I'm iffy on that. I'm iffy on the juicy delicious part in KFC. That sentence.
Let's not get onto whether or not we should be eating KFC, because I mean we've all got strong opinions about that. But the fact is, like, I'm always amazed. This is the real question. It's not these issues. It's not about climate change or veganism or vaccines. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about the people who feel that they have to tell other people what to do. It's like, where does that come from? That authoritarian kind of inclination, that ability that some people have to just inject themselves into your life, whether you like it or not. And then they like start lecturing you and shitting on you for the way that you live. But there are things about their lives that are just as terrible. They just choose to turn a blind eye to them. It's the world's greatest hypocrisy, and it drives me up the wall.
Where's the humility?
The first
Christian, be a humble vegan.
Yeah.
Be a humble tree hugger.
Right.
The first thing I was taught growing up is that when you point a finger, 3 fingers are pointing back at you.
Yeah.
We're never taught that.
Yeah.
These people were never taught that. They think that you. And also, I think it does go to their character. The more things I find wrong with Gareth, that makes me happy, because that means I'm angelic. That means I'm on the right path. If everyone else is wrong, it's self-entitlement bull crap. I don't want to swear.
Let's just go back to your one finger pointing, three fingers pointing back at you thing, because that's another thing that people they don't seem to think about that at all. I'm always like, when you see some I hate to use the word Karen even, because I kind of feel like that's become a bit of a pejorative and not in a funny way anymore. It's like it's almost become like a thing that people who are lazy use to complain about anyone who actually has legitimate complaints, as well as ridiculous ones. But I sometimes think about these people who will, and it's usually people who are convinced, like those ladies who go to church on a Sunday and then they sit and gossip about the other ladies who are at church. Because they feel like self-righteous and sanctimonious and holier than thou. And I wonder if it ever crosses their mind that if we had to go into their house with a camera crew and like start digging around in their underwear drawer, or we had to see what their internet search history was, or if we found out what they do when their husbands are away on a business trip, I wonder if those women
their true thoughts about racism or homosexuality.
Oh yeah.
What they dream at night. Their dirty dreams.
I mean, I wouldn't want to get into some of these people's heads. Don't get me wrong. In fact, I wouldn't want to get into anyone's head except my own, because I'm absolutely convinced that you would be so horrified by some of the stuff. People are actually at base level, they're kind of a little bit disappointing. The closer you get to someone, the more of the real person you see, the more you kind of think, damn, I thought they were so perfect. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as perfection. And if you could just have the humility, Leanne, you used the word earlier, and I have to remind myself of this too sometimes. You have to have the humility to go, well, actually, I'm not so fucking perfect. So who the hell do I expect that person to be? And why do I have higher standards for them than I do for myself?
You know what I mean? Because it's easy to drag people down, Gareth, than to lift yourself up.
Yeah.
It's very easy.
Congo Chris says, if you put one crab in a bucket, they'll get out quite easily. You put two crabs in a bucket, they will try to pull the other crab and stop it from escaping. People are like crabs in a bucket.
Yeah. Exactly. It's easy to drag people down than to lift yourself up. It's easy to say, Gareth is living in a mansion, than to work hard and like to look at all the other effects. It's easy to blame white monopoly capital. Not that these things don't exist. And like you said, racism does exist, but people need to learn to prioritize problems that we have in this country. Can you pull up a picture of Julius Malema just for like 5 minutes?
The picture you sent?
The picture I sent.
It's got a target drawn on it. I don't know if that's a good idea.
No, I'm not saying assassinate this guy. Don't get us wrong. Cliff Central does not want to assassinate the commander-in-chief. No, the commander-in-chief is about to throw a party for the poor instead of feeding the poor.
Okay,
like, why don't you
brought up you have a problem with this guy too?
I have a problem with the guy. Like, just roll all these pictures with targets, Gareth. Roll all these pictures. I have a problem with this guy. I have a problem with this guy. I have a problem with this guy. And finally, I have a big problem with this man.
All right, so let me go through the names, because if you were listening to the podcast and you didn't see the pictures, so he's got all these. Bakh'abantu's basically been sitting there like an incel through the course of last night
with a dartboard.
Taking like pictures of famous South African politicians and putting a target on them. I think he's going to use them. Are you going to use them as like a pee mat in your urinal? Because that could be a good use for them. There's Cyril Ramaphosa, there's John Steenhuisen, there's Julius Malema, there's Natim Tetwa, and there's Zizi Kodwa.
Yeah, so Natim Tetwa and Zizi Kodwa already brought that up. These people are wasting money on statues that already exist, number one. We don't need to remember Mandela. Yes, he did something great. He's on our money. We don't need to be spending 25 million on statues of this guy. He's on our money already. So we don't need to be spending more money on him. So then we move to... What?
Why are you drawing targets on the others? Go to them.
Okay, no, let's move on. It's John Steenhuisen. John Steenhuisen, all he does is complain and complain and complain. You know what I want as just as a thought experiment. It's very easy to govern a city like Cape Town that's already a metropolitan, that's already basically Europe in its in its peak. It's a first world country, Cape Town, that is, not the Western Cape in general, but Cape Town, that is. Cape Town is already a functioning city. I want, as a thought experiment, give John Steenhuisen a rural town in Limpopo and let him run it properly. Let's see. And then if he does well, great. It's a win-win. If he doesn't do well, then we see that it's very easy to drive a car that's already drivable. But to start from the ground and build the car and build the engine.
I got two problems with him, and then we've actually got someone joining us just now. It'll be interesting to talk to him and find out his opinion about this, because he's objective. He's not in South Africa, but he has visited here. I have two problems with John, and they're very specific, and they don't have to do with this general stuff that you were talking about now. My problems are twofold. Number one, stop talking about the Ukraine and Russia like we care, because we don't. And number two, lose some weight. And I know that sounds rude, and it sounds like it's not my place to say that, but I don't believe you should vote for a fat person, because they can't discipline themselves. Therefore, how are they going to run the country? I think he should lose a little bit of weight. I took him a lot more seriously when he wasn't. And he's not fat, but he's overweight.
No, there is an element where John Steenhuisen, to your Ukraine point, what I hate about the DA is that they focus on non-problems.
Right.
These things are not priorities. If we're to draw up a list, these things are not number one. The Ukraine is not affecting the guy who doesn't have a job on the street.
Okay, but that's him. Why Cyril there?
No, Cyril, the buck stops with him, or what? The Ankola cow stops with him. Why is he not running this country properly? He put us in a national state of disaster because of load shedding that they caused.
All right, what about Julius? Why did you want to make him into a PMAT?
Julius Malema wants to fix the poor's problem. Why is he throwing a party? I don't care where he's getting the money, Gareth. It could be from illicit cigarettes. He could have crowdfunded it. He could have got it from that dinner where he sat at a table for R1 million. I don't care. But if you really do care about people, like he says, if communism and socialism and people first is a thing, then you go out and you feed someone.
Okay.
Bantu stumbled upon this saying that if you teach a man to fish, he stumbled along it. But if you give a man a fish, he has a fish for a day. But if you teach a man to fish, he fishes forever. He has a fish for life. That's what Julius Malema should be doing. They should stop. Like, if you listen to the Burning Platform last week, if you listen to the Burning Platform last week, this lady was... I got a comment from my friend. They're like, "Oh, this lady was so unprepared." Like, this friend of mine is very EFF. So he's like, "This lady's so unprepared. She came to the Gareth Cliff show and she couldn't answer the basic questions." I'm like, the reason why she couldn't answer the basic questions, she's a founding member. She's been there since this party started, and she can't answer the basic questions because there are no answers to the basic questions. There really aren't any answers. You can't look to the state to create a job. The state facilitates an economy, and economy drives the market. Capitalism is the only proven system in the world that functions, that creates life, that creates opportunity.
All right, calm down. You got to calm down, because you're out of control. We've definitely this morning's Bakh'abantu show is brought to you by an assault rifle company. That's the only people I can think of. All right, so let's just be clear. He doesn't want to assassinate anyone, but he wants these people targeted. He wants them out of society. He wants them out of leadership positions. It's not going to happen, though, Bakh'abantu, so we just got to move on. And I want to welcome to the show somebody who's been a listener now for a while. He's also a University of British Columbia graduate, a writer, a traveler, and a podcast fan. He's based in Vancouver in Canada, along with one of my best friends lives in Vancouver in Canada too. He discovered Cliff Central while he was unable to travel during COVID, and he's a big traveler. It led to an obsession with South Africa, and it did lead to him coming here for a visit after he'd initially been scared off by news about the crime here. So let's speak to Jared. Hey, Jared.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's an honor to finally be here after 3 years of listening.
Well, it's nice to see you in person on the show, and we like to bring people on who've got an interesting story. I mean, you seem like a really interesting guy. I read your blog. You're a seasoned traveler. You're a podcast listener, and you discovered our show some time ago, and then you decided you're going to come and check the country out. So just give us the short form version of your relationship with South Africa.
Yeah, so basically, I was supposed to go the first time back in 2015. I had family down there in Joburg, but you know, I had my ticket booked and everything, and then, like you said, I let the media reports get the best of me, and I ended up canceling. And so he reminded me of that every single time I saw him. And then he moved back to Canada, and you know, I thought my chances of going were gone. And then you know, in the middle of lockdown, I was, you know, couldn't even go to the next town over, let alone an international destination. So I started traveling any way I could through books, radio, and podcasts. And through the magic of TuneIn Radio, I happened upon Johannesburg. And after listening to a few radio stations with music, I came across you guys. And I tend to prefer podcasts over music most of the time. And the first segment.
Are we still entertaining you, or are we wasting your time?
Of course. No, it's yeah. Every day is something new. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I read your blog. You've been to some interesting places in the world. What did you think of South Africa after you'd been here a little bit?
It was unlike anywhere I've ever been. That's probably the best way to put it.
Well, that's good. So that means, but is it good? Because I mean, Mars is very different to anywhere I've ever been, but doesn't mean I want to go to Mars, you know?
No, true. But no, I don't know. I'll put it this way. There's only 3 places in the world that I've ever felt at home, and that's Vancouver, Frankfurt, and South Africa. There was just something about it where, you know, the moment we got there, I was like, okay, I'm prepared for this. I know, you know, kind of what's going on. Now I'm seeing it in person after, you know, researching it for 3 years. And, you know, there were some things that kind of shocked me, but for the most part, it was all positive. Even the negatives, you know.
Vancouver, where you live, is a very good first world city in every way. You know, it's like, it's this place where things work. People all, you know, that you can get services. Trains arrive on time. There isn't like gun violence in the streets. Most people have jobs. Is Vancouver as good as we think it is here in South Africa?
I'd have to say yes, honestly. Like I was born and raised here, and I can't honestly complain about anything. Like you're saying, everything works almost to a point of being boring, which is probably why I found South Africa so interesting. Because it's like, okay, now I actually have to think as I'm going through my day, like, is this going to happen? Is this going to work? So
we've got a couple of comments here already from the other listeners, which I think is hilarious. Sanele says you look like a One Direction member. I don't know if that's a compliment. And then Chase says you look like Nick de Vries, the Formula One driver. Have you ever had those comparisons before?
No, I've been told that I look like a member of a boy band before, but never an F1 driver.
Yeah, maybe it's the way you talk. Yeah, exactly.
What do you do for a living? What's your job?
I'm a journalist, actually.
Oh, okay, very good.
Yeah.
Here's a picture
so
of Jared.
Writing is my passion.
Here's a picture when he came to visit us at our old premises, and he stood next to the sign. I'm sorry we weren't there at the time. I mean, we could have.
No, that was on Sunday, actually.
Yeah, we wouldn't have been.
So
in
nobody would have been there. Yeah,
but
we just stopped in there briefly. Yeah. We were. Cool. That day we were coming from Pilanesberg National Park, and I drove through Hartbeespoort and then down to Johannesburg. And made a detour through Rivonia, and I thought, okay, I have to get out and take a picture.
Could you believe the terrible neighborhood we were in?
Oh, it wasn't that bad. After coming down from Pilanesberg, city looked pretty good.
Well, we've upgraded our circumstances, and we're in
I've seen the new studio too. It's
accommodation
pretty
now.
Impressive, yeah.
What do you think South Africans don't know about themselves that you observed while you were here? Because we tend to give ourselves a really hard time. South Africans tend to think, oh, well, we're not as good as the people in, first world countries, or we feel sorry for ourselves because our government is shitty. What did you pick up about South Africans that we should actually be more aware of? Because I always think objective outsiders can tell us stuff that we don't know about ourselves.
I'd say the number one thing that I noticed was the ability to just make the best of any situation. For example, we were in Johannesburg for New Year's Eve, and everything was nice. There was live music, hundreds of people in the club. We were at Katzi's. I don't know if you guys know, but we were there. Everyone counted down. It was the great time, New Year's Eve, And the first minute of the new year, load shedding. The lights went out, everything went dark.
Remember that.
But then everyone just started pulling out their phones, shining lights, and they just went on having a good time. You would never see that in Canada. Everyone would just give up. Like, well, okay, I guess, time to go. But the South Africans, because it was all locals in there, right? They just, made the best of a bad situation. The generator kicked in a few minutes later, but it was, it didn't skip a beat. And that really stood out to me.
How do you explain load shedding to people in Canada?
It's a little difficult. I just say kind of rolling blackouts, but all the time.
Like all
I watched
the time.
one of the series I watched. It was like an FBI or police series. I can't remember which one. The theme of the episode was the fact that there were rolling blackouts in LA, and it was very, unusual. And you just see how the city falls apart.
Oh yeah.
How they cannot. People are. Oh gosh. They're losing track of people that they're surveilling. Cops are put in horrible situations. People are dying. I'm just thinking, my gosh.
Same thing in Vancouver. There's a small power outage, and it's a news story, right?
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't be proud of being so used to load shedding that we can get through it. But at the same time, we can be kind of proud because we've adapted.
Yeah.
I mean, we shouldn't be
why am I hearing like an echo? Is there a pair of headphones that drives me crazy?
It's the app.
Oh my god!
That's
right.
So the app is falling apart, so we have to stream from studio. That's what you're hearing.
All right, sorry about that. Irritating. All right, so tell us quickly, Jared. What do you think? Because I've talked to a lot of people, a lot of South Africans who go, "Oh, I'd be much happier if I were in Canada." It's going to be very tough to settle in Canada if you've grown up in South Africa, just like it would be tough for you to move here if you decided you wanted to like have a slightly more adventurous life, come and live in crime-riddled Johannesburg.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a difficult thing to relocate, but I think a lot of South Africans think Vancouver and in particular Vancouver, it's a great city. As I said, one of my best friends from university lives there, and he loves it, absolutely loves it. He and his wife have been happily ensconced there for, I think it's close to 10 years now. And they love the place. They're actually just moving they've been in an apartment for a couple of years, and now they're going to buy a house in the suburbs. It's all very kind of like those sitcoms that we used to watch when we were kids. You got to move from the apartment into the suburbs, but they genuinely love the place, and it's beautiful. And you've got the most incredible range of places in throwing distance from Vancouver. You can literally take a couple of minutes drive and you're up in the mountains snow skiing. And in the summer, you can be down on the beach. You can go to Victoria Island. I mean, there's some beautiful places around there. So just explain that to South Africans so that we can kind of understand a little more.
Yeah, so basically Vancouver is very, very similar to Cape Town in the way it's laid out. You got the mountain and then the ocean. But the thing that's different is the mountains in Vancouver actually extend further into the province. It's not just one big mountain. And so, yeah, like you're saying, we can drive an hour north and we're in probably one of the top 3 ski destinations in the world. And, it's, Vancouver Island as well is just there. But even like we live right downtown. And yesterday, for example, we took our kayak down, went on the water, and then went up to the mountains, went for a bit of a hike. And so it's just, I don't know, like it's hard to explain because living here for 27 years now, I kind of take it for granted. I often forget that, it's not like this everywhere. And so it's kind of hard for me to say like, it's this special place because for me, it's just home. Yeah.
But it kind of is. And a lot of people who haven't been to Canada, they think that, the weather in Toronto is the same as the weather in Vancouver, is the same as the weather in Halifax. These are hugely different places. I mean, the amount of distance between Nova Scotia and British Columbia is just absolutely mind-boggling. It's
like 4,000 miles, yeah.
And Winnipeg and Calgary.
Yeah. Winnipeg is where you want to go if you want to experience a true Canadian winter. That's, what we call it Winterpeg. But there it gets down to like, minus 50. That's normal. And
but like, let's ask Jared the serious questions. How is the food? You guys have that like chips and gravy situation. What is
poutine,
it called? Poutine?
yeah.
Not poutine.
That's a French Canadian dish over in Quebec.
That's in Quebec.
Over in
It's
Quebec.
pretty good.
Oh,
It's pretty good.
Canadian.
Most Canadians don't really consider Quebec to even be part of Canada, right?
Well, there's a bit of a debate there, yeah.
Okay, what about your politics? Because we've often spoken about Justin the Ken doll Trudeau. He's probably going to the Barbie movie as we speak, right?
Yeah, yeah, don't get me started on Trudeau. Like, a lot of people say, like, oh, you know, he's a tyrant, he's a wannabe dictator. I think it's more, you know, don't attribute to malice what you can attribute to ignorance.
Right.
Guy's just a dolt. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing. For example, I don't know if you guys have heard Bill C-18. It basically shut down the news in Canada on social media. And yeah, what his government wanted social media companies to do was to pay the Canadian news publishers every time someone clicked on the link. Yeah. And the companies were like, no, we're not doing this. They already get more revenue, you know, by us sharing their content. And so in response, they just said, okay, we're just not going to show it at all. And so one day I logged onto the work Instagram account and it said, you cannot view this content in Canada.
You're kidding. So, it's like censorship.
Basically,
it's
but
state media. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jared, I have to ask you, is this you angry? Because you're a very pleasant guy and you know what people say about the Canadians being pleasant.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to know if this is like you pissed off.
Yeah, he's him pissed off. He's like fuming.
Also, how abrasive do you find South Africans by comparison?
No,
I mean, you've been to Cape Town.
I think that's more just a me thing. Like, I mean, Canadians are pretty nice, but like the last time I tried to shout, I gave myself a sore throat. So I prefer to just, you know, keep it calm and let my words do the talking, not the tone of my voice.
Oh, wow.
Or,
I mean, we just shouting hello to each other on the street or in traffic to move out the way.
Yeah.
You know, if a South African sees their friend across the road, they're like, hey!
Yeah, it's a big thing, you know?
Oh, that doesn't even happen here at all.
You'd probably be considered aggressive, right?
Yeah. No, here you're walking down the street, you see someone, you know, just give a polite wave and keep walking.
When you oot in a boat in the streets?
Yeah.
That's not happening on the Cape Flats, I'll tell you that much.
Oh, geez.
Does it rain all the time? Because I mean, Seattle's just across the border from you guys, really. It's not that far.
Yeah.
And Seattle's well known for like having rain 300 out of 365 days a year.
Yeah, I mean, Vancouver, it's technically in a temperate rainforest. So we probably get rain good 2/3 of the year. Yeah.
That's a lot of
and
thirds.
it doesn't bother me too much. I still get out and do my thing, but a lot of people, when they first come to Vancouver, they think, you know, Canada, like you were saying, it's going to snow. No, our winters are cold and wet. You usually get...
Is this your girlfriend who's just joined in the chat?
I don't know why she hasn't updated her YouTube picture.
So Jared's girlfriend.
Okay, so she's not that age.
She's not that age? Jared?
She's not a kid.
What's happening?
God, she's not a child. I was going to say, like, you guys are not marry children and or be in relationships with children.
But of course, Jared would cover it up if she was a child.
Jared says, Jared's girlfriend says, I can confirm this is the most angry he's been since I've known him.
Well, now we've got our levels. We've calibrated.
Right. Oh wow! Okay, take a look there.
Waiting for her to grow up. Good work.
She's actually sitting right here next to me. She's a bit camera shy.
Oh, awesome!
She come say hi.
That's okay. Is her surname by any chance Persian?
Yes. Yeah, she came here. What is that? Almost 10 years ago now.
Okay, very good. No, I saw the surname in her comment there, and I'm like, okay, that's a Persian surname.
Yeah.
Very cool. So obviously, Vancouver is also a very cosmopolitan place. One of the things that my friend and his wife like to do is they said that the restaurants are just absolutely amazing. There are, there's so many places to go at night. The place is always busy. There's a lot of energy there. It's a very dynamic place. You've obviously grown up there, so you take a lot of that for granted. But is that part of the attraction?
I think so, yeah. I mean, Vancouver has the largest Asian population in Canada, second only in North America to San Francisco.
Right.
And so, for example, we live right downtown, and within walking distance from us, there's probably at least 100 Asian restaurants. You can get anything you could possibly imagine. Yeah.
Damn, that sounds good. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Trudeau closed. People are talking about Trudeau now. Alan says Jared's boyfriend here. People are claiming you in the comments section. I like this. All right, would you come back to South Africa?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, I'm still trying to convince my girlfriend over there because we have different styles of traveling. We both like to go to new places, but then if I find a place that I like, I'll go back as frequently as I want. Whereas when she's done with the place, she's done with the place for maybe 10 years until she's seen everything else. Okay, then I can go back. And so after we got back from South Africa in January, she said, okay, maybe 10 years. And then a couple of months later, I got her down to 5 years. And now it's, maybe 1 year. So hopefully next year we'll be back. And if not, I guess you'll just see me.
So tell me, because I think you obviously hear a lot of the stuff that we talk about on the show. Is there anything that we talk about in the show that we are completely wrong about that you would like to put us in our place for? And is there anything that we talk about that you think we should talk about more?
Get angry, please.
I'm trying to think. Well, no promises.
You can be as hot as you like.
He's being fuming, Leanne.
Yeah, come on, Leanne.
Out of his eyes.
Can't you see my smile shrunk just a little bit? No, I don't know. Like, you guys are pretty spot on when you talk about stuff that's happening in North America, especially the culture war stuff.
Is it as serious as we think it is? Because I haven't been to America for it's like 4 years now, and I feel like I'm a little bit out of touch with what's been happening over there. But I've got friends who are constantly filling me in, and obviously I watch the news. And I know that the media are always trying to make more of something than it really is. But what's it like in Vancouver? I mean, do you guys have like a lot of kind of right and left political divisions? Do people mostly get along, or are they quite partisan and polarized? What's the story?
Well, in Vancouver, Vancouver is not a very political city. We have a public square. People host demonstrations every once in a while, but there's rarely ever clashes between two groups. It's usually, okay, you guys, take your time, say what you want to say, and then move on. Whereas
that sounds so great. I wish we could get that here.
I mean, Eastern Canada is a little bit worse, but it's nothing compared to the US. And, I work for an American news organization. And so I see that on a daily basis. And I mean, you got to be careful saying, like it's the everyday life for everyday people. It's not. It's a very a small group of angry people on both sides going after each other. And then you have the media, which covers it as if like this is the entire right or the entire left, whereas it's actually like a very small fraction of those two sides. And so for people who aren't on Twitter, it's very hard to, convince them that this is happening, all these, culture wars, political disagreements.
Yeah.
But if you spend your time on social media and, you get involved with the protests, you can easily start to believe that this is, like, the most important thing that's going on right now is, whether the Barbie movie was, pro or anti-woman. It's for most people, they don't think about it that way. They just want to go and enjoy the movie. But, you get these people on the right and the left saying, like, this should be celebrated because it, it has this political message, or it should be, taken off the air because it has this political message.
Sanella says you should change your name to Angry Jared. Listen, first of all, I just want to show you a picture my friend sent me yesterday of he took his dog for a walk in Vancouver. Look at this. Isn't this beautiful?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that just looks amazing.
Yesterday there was it's called the Celebration of Lights. It's a fireworks show. It takes place right there in English Bay. So you gotta.
Very nice. Okay, so one other quick thing. When we talk about our politics, when we talk about South African politics, obviously a lot of this stuff you've been following because you listen to the show. But do you ever think, wow, I can't believe this crazy shit that goes on in that place? Or is this just normal? Are you used to like hearing about politicians, stealing money and doing dumb stuff? Are we dumber than even we think?
I wouldn't say that. I would just, because there's corruption everywhere, right? Even Trudeau and Biden in
right.
first world countries, so called, there are corruption scandals and alleged bribery that takes place. I think, from what I've heard, it's just more frequent in South Africa, and from what you guys have said, whereas like in Canada, in the United States, the politicians kind of do what they want, but stuff still gets done. It's not either or. Right. Whereas from what you guys have said,
they steal like 20-30%, but the other 60 or 70% gets spent on actually fixing the country, right? And making things work so that people are upset, but they're not so upset that they want to like lynch mob the politicians.
Exactly.
Here they're stealing like 80-90%, which means you can only spend 10 or 20% on fixing things.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. It's perfectly sensible. All right, here we go. Could you compare Tim Hortons to anything you experienced in South Africa? What is Tim Hortons, first of all?
Okay, Tim Hortons is pretty much the quintessential Canadian coffee chain. I mean, it was recently bought out by an American company, so that kind of changed the dynamic a little bit. And now you see them in other places around the world. But in the smaller towns, you still get like the proper Tim Hortons experience. And I'm trying to think if there was anything. I mean, I don't drink coffee, so we didn't spend a lot of time in coffee houses or anything like that. But no, Tim Hortons is uniquely Canadian. There's nothing really like it.
What's that donut place that you guys like? It's only found in Canada. It's a really great donut place. This is a Tim Hortons.
That's Tim Hortons, yeah.
Oh,
yeah, you got the donut holes, the Timbits.
Yeah, exactly, and the Boston creams and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Slippery Pickle says, I think if you get any angrier than Jared has been this morning in Canada, then the health system recommends you for euthanasia.
Well,
I mean, the funniest thing is, and Simon says, just made this comparison. I think it's so true. From Bakh'abantu's rant just before you came on, Jared, compared to your rant, it's like the biggest contrast ever.
And we're not just talking about color.
Yeah.
No, amazing.
No, there's nothing really that gets me angry, I gotta say. I get frustrated, but not angry.
Like we have Dr. Hanan on every Monday to give us like mental health tips, but I think we should have you on to calm us down at least once a week.
Yeah, very soothing.
The calming Canadian. There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Jared, the calming Canadian, and we can even have like bells and noises in the background that just chill people out.
Meditational music.
Yeah. No, I mean, we're obviously characterizing, but I just love the fact that there are non-South Africans in all parts of the world also listening to us, and it's really cool to meet you and speak to you on the show.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me on. It's nice to finally meet you guys.
Yeah, thanks, dude. And good luck to you and your girlfriend in planning your next travel.
Thank you.
And let us know if you're ever in South Africa.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully next year, like I said, but
yeah. You gotta talk her into it though. Okay, cool. Yeah. Thank you so much, man. Thank you. Have an awesome day, and thanks for joining us on the show. There we go. There's Jared from Vancouver in Canada. Isn't that cool?
Very cool.
Very
I
cool.
feel kind of zen now. You're right.
No. Even when you read his article, he does speak positively. It's like the way Jared speaks about South Africa is also the same guy as when we had the outer guy. The way he speaks about South Africa, about teaming with life. I like people who still see South Africa as this beacon of hope. It's it's a cleanse. Usa.
It is. There we go. So Bakh'abantu, we managed to get rid of all that angry energy of yours before Jared came on. So good for him. He's been your best therapist yet.
Dr. Anand. Dr. Anand, you have competition.
There we go. All right, everybody. Have a happy Monday and stay warm. And we will see you tomorrow at 6 a.m. Be good. Ciao.